Hello, everybody. Welcome to Textiles and Tea. I'm Kathy Group. I'm your host today, and we are glad to be here. I think we're getting ready to have some thunderstorms. My dog just dived under the table, so that's usually a good sign. So hopefully I'll stay with you the whole time. I want to welcome you all today. Today we are sponsored by the Central Oregon Spinners and Weavers Guild. Thank you all. We love it when a guild sponsors us. It's like guild to guild contact, you know? We thank you all if you're interested in sponsoring, if your guild is. We'll talk about that later also. But thank you, Central Oregon, for sponsoring Jaci today. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and not in the chat. I can't really read the chat very well while I'm doing this, but I can see the Q&A at the end when we get ready to do questions. And some of you have great questions, so please put them in the Q&A. We love your comments, though. Keep those coming. Today, we have Jacey Boggs Faulkner. You know, have you ever been around somebody that you know them, you know of them your whole life, but maybe you've only met them once or twice? That's the way Jacey is. Jacey has been everywhere. I see her, what she's doing, I feel like I know her, so I'm excited to have her here today. And you know what? Jacey loves fiber. She was growing up in a non-crafty household. She didn't start knitting until she was 27. And within a year, she was spinning hundreds of yards of yarn every day, 10 years, 96 workshops, and numerous articles. And one book later, she started PLY Magazine. And I'm sure you all, if you're a spinner, you know PLY. 10 years after that, she found another true love, weaving. We brought her over from the dark side into the light. Now she turns PLY and WEFT magazine. Now she runs PLY and WEFT. The PLY Spinners Guild, and working on her third book. I can't wait to hear about that. She lives with her family in Bend, Oregon, and we are so excited to have her here today. Hey, Jaci.
Hi.
How are you?
I am better than medium. I'm super
Great.
good.
Great. We are so excited to have you here today.
I am also really excited. I've been watching Textiles and Tea for a long time, and so I told my friends that I just had to apparently move into a weaving magazine to get you guys to have me on.
That's right. We knew we finally brought you over to the light, out of the dark of that spinning stuff. Oh, I'm going to get some comments from that. I love spinning. Just kidding. Just kidding. How did you get started? Oh, sorry. Skip the important question. What is your favorite tea?
Oh, I'm actually drinking tea right now. I drink tea most of the time, and a couple years ago I switched from caffeine to decaf. So I actually, it's kind of an art form. I do a thing every morning where I make green tea, um, and then it's half steamed milk and half water and honey. So whether it's my
Ooh,
favorite, I'm not sure, but I drink it every morning. It makes me feel like I'm getting caffeinated, even though there's no caffeine. So
whatever works. That's right. So how did you get started in fiber? It sounded like you came to it later in life. I mean, 27 is pretty young, but it's not like you started as a small child either.
it's true. In fact, my whole family, no one in my family except for my great grandma, she was a quilter, um, but nobody else. In fact, up until my mom passed, she still didn't really understand what I did. I would meet her friends and they would be like, "So your mom says that you raise sheep," and I'm like, "No," like, um,
Bless her heart.
right? Like she didn't understand ever the difference between spinning, weaving, knitting, crochet, like everything was kind of one thing. So when I had my first kid, I was 27 and I decided to learn to knit because I knew all of these really smart women, like really smart progressive women, and they liked two things. The first thing was knitting, and the second thing was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so I was like, okay, I need to get in on both of those. So I bought the whole box set because we were still on VHS then. Bought the whole box set of Buffy, and I learned to knit from a Debbie Bliss book.
Oh,
Tried to
right, right.
tried to figure it out. Going cross country, bought some terrible, terrible yarn, um, and couldn't figure out how to cast on. And so I put it down until my first was born. Um, and then I started knitting, finally got it. 2 weeks later, I was like, oh, I think that I think that this is really expensive because I was 27, just really struggling to like make it. Still, I was waiting tables, I was trying to be a writer, um, and decided that spending 20 bucks from a craft store on yarn to make a sweater was way too expensive. Little did I know. And so I was like, there must be a way to like make my own yarn. So I bought a wheel, a Louette S10 wheel off of Etsy didn't exist. I bought it off of eBay, and it came and it smelled like cigarette smoke, and it came with like
Ugh.
a pound of old fiber that also smelled like cigarette smoke. So I put it all on the porch with some baking soda for like a week, and then I proceeded to check out every book from the library in Baltimore and learn how to spin. And at that point, I didn't, had never seen another person spin. I didn't even really know that people still spun. Like I was in this weird little vacuum where I thought I was learning this like archaic craft from people long past, from books that no one read. Um, and so, yeah, I just learned, I spun literally 5 to 6 hours every single day, well, 6 days a week. Um, and because when I go in, apparently I go in deep.
Obviously.
And so that was 2 weeks, 2 weeks after I learned to knit. I was like, I'm going to learn to spin. So that's kind of how I started. I thought it would be cheaper. And anytime you go backwards in a process, it does not get cheaper. It gets more expensive, but you get happier. So that's the important
Right,
part.
right, right. It's my $100 scarf that, if I really wanted a
Right.
scarf, I could get it a
It's my,
lot cheaper somewhere else.
it's my $48 socks,
Right, right,
right?
right, right.
Yes.
Um, you like you were saying, you taught yourself to spin. So I'm really curious, what would you tell someone who wants to spin or is new to spinning to help them along their journey? Because you know everything about spinning now. So what do you tell
Everything.
those of us, and I have to include myself in this, who are trying to master it, or better yet, just do it?
Okay, so one, I think that I, of course, do not know everything about spinning. Like, I think that just like weaving, you could spend your entire life doing these crafts and never know everything. We are really lucky to, and I know it's kind of a cheesy old saying, but we're really lucky to stand on the shoulders of giants because without the books that we have, without people that have come before us and kind of paved the way, we would literally be trying to figure it out from the beginning each time. Um,
Mhm.
so I know quite a lot about spinning because it's my job. I'm really lucky to, um, because I have to read and edit and shoot every article we're now on our 50th issue of PLY. Um, I have had access to a lot of really, really smart, mostly women, but a really, really smart people spinning and experimenting and teaching. And so I do know now a lot about spinning. What would I recommend? I would recommend number one, that you do not do it how I did it. Um, I think it's really important, and I think this is probably true for weaving too. It's really important to have a mentor, whether that mentor is a teacher or a friend or someone at your local yarn store or someone online, but a real person teaching you. I don't think it's easy to learn just from books and magazines. And I know that's weird coming from someone that writes books and puts out magazines, but I think that those are supplemental um, resources that need to come after you have at least kind of a base level of understanding, even if it's just someone showing you like how to set up your reel or what fiber. I find that the first time this is kind of a weird little story. The first time I ever saw someone else spin, this is ridiculous, was literally the first time I went to teach a class. So I was, I'd learned through the book. I've learned through these books, all the stuff that's kind of we take for granted now, all the social media, like Facebook, none of that stuff existed. I used to be a woodworker. And so I had a blog, and I was also like a new mom. So I was blogging about like my new mom stuff and, all my cloth diapers and I was a very, yeah, well, so I started blogging about this spinning yarn thing that I was doing. And eventually, a guild asked me to come and teach. And I was like so excited that someone else was spinning. And I didn't, like I said, I learned in this weird vacuum where I didn't think that other people really did this. And the internet wasn't what it is now. And so I was like, absolutely, I will come. I will teach your 12 people. I think it'll take me about 6 hours. Um, and I told them that I would bring everything because I was just absolutely sure that no one knew where to get fiber, that they just had no idea, right? This is my interpretation. So I made these little bundles of fiber, which I dyed myself, and I had these little mugs printed up that was like, I know you don't do this now. I had no idea. I didn't even know classes existed. I had these little mugs printed up that were like, I love spinning. Those mug stores and those t-shirt stores at Old Mall.
Yeah, yeah.
So I made a little mug. I got this bundle of fiber. I tied a little bow around it. I showed up. I drove 6 hours to this guild, and I was like, is $100 too much? Right? I mean, not per person, for the whole thing, which I probably spent way more than that just on the fiber. And that was the first time I ever saw someone spin in person. And so even just having that experience, even seeing the different ways people hold their hands, um, was so valuable to me. Not only did it show me, like, wake me up out of this weird, like, vacuum bubble of like, I'm the only one doing this stuff, because, but, but watching someone else do something, even if they're not great at it, like, you don't need mentors that are amazing. You don't need the best spinner in the world. You don't need the best weaver in the world. You need people to give you different points of view, people to like just show you that everyone does it differently, um, because we all do everything differently. And while there are ways, I think, that are better for some people than other ways, um, if you're creating what you want and you're not hurting yourself or your body, and you're getting an outcome you like, I don't think there's necessarily wrong ways to do stuff. There are better ways to do things always. But my number one tip is to find a group, to find a person, to be spinning, at least in the beginning, with somebody. It's actually why, 2 years ago, I learned to weave. This is tangential, but through Jane Stafford. Well, I took a class at my guild, which I love. Patty Huffner taught this intro to weaving, and I was sold 3 hours in. I was like, I need a floor loom. By the end of that class, Patty had found me a loom.
Look
And
at Patty.
right, it was like a 40-inch fireside that I had the next day. Um, but I wanted to weave before then, but doing something like that on your own is really difficult.
Yeah.
It's a really overwhelming, and not just because it's complex, but because you're afraid that you're just not even getting the basic thing correct. So, I learned from my guild, and then I was able to come home and learn. I learned through Jane Stafford. I went through, the first mini seasons of her get her online guild or tech or school, and that gave me the idea for Apply Spinners Guild. So I actually called up Jane and was like, how do I do this? Like, I want to make this, but for spinning. And, she's always so amazing and graceful and lovely that she was like, let's Zoom. I'm going to tell you everything. Here's what you need to know. And I have enjoyed her friendship since then. But I did that because so many people learn in these kind of on their own. And you need people. You need to see that there's not a right way and a wrong way. You need to see other people doing it. And you need to, like, I mean, even to the point of seeing that, like, spinning is not a handed sport. You don't necessarily need to always have your right hand forward or your left hand forward. People think I spin left-handed, but I'm a right-handed person. So just having a group. So I made this guild in that same way, and we have these regular spin-ins like 3 times a month where we get together for an hour and a half. And sometimes it's just chatting and hanging out, and sometimes it's very specific to the lessons that we like at the episodes we did where we talk and question, and but it gives you a viewpoint that's so much larger than you can build on your own, which I think is really, really important. Is there's not just one way of doing it, and sometimes books or an article can lead you to think that there's one way. So
I
people,
know for
mentors.
me that as a teacher and also as a beginning weaver, I loved when somebody'd say, "Oh, I've done that." You make a mistake, they're like, "Oh, honey, everybody does that." I think that just says, "Oh, okay, all right, I might be able to get through this." So I agree. We get a lot of people who agree with you
Oh,
too. That's
good.
wonderful. Yes, yes. The one thing I always wondered about spinning is that when you spin and you really start to understand what the fibers are doing, and there's the S and the Z and, plying and all that, do you think that experience makes you a better weaver, that you understand what the yarn is doing?
100%. Um, so it's not just, okay, I think that there's a couple things that happen here. One, sometimes when you go into something with too much information,
Oh,
it can cloud, right? Like I go into learning to weave and I have all this spinning and yarn stuff. So sometimes it can complicate things, and I can be trying to put too much, especially as a new weaver, trying to put too much of what I already know into it. But as you progress, I think that it's really invaluable because it's not just yarn. It's not just this one thing. It's not just the yarn, it's the fiber type, it's the staple length, it's the twist amount in the singles, the twist amount in the ply structure. It's all of these things that go into making a yarn that inform the kind of fabric you're going to have. And in the beginning, I think I didn't need to draw on that because I was just trying to figure out how to weave. But now, and I think as you go farther along in that journey, knowing at least something about yarn and yarn construction and different fiber types is really invaluable in how you can manipulate and come out with a fabric that you want. And it doesn't have to be that you make the yarn. Like, I don't necessarily think everyone needs to be a spinner to glean that. I think that sometimes just like reading about yarn structure, learning about different types of yarn and drafts and fiber um, could be enough to at least give you some more insight as a weaver than, not that I'm trying to sell subscriptions or anything, but I think that you don't have to be a spinner, but knowing more about yarn and is really helpful. And vice versa. I think that being a weaver has informed my spinning because Sometimes when knitters learn to spin, they don't they put too much twist in their singles yarns and not enough twist in the ply. So essentially, when you spin yarn, the feel of your yarn comes from how much twist is in your single, and the resistance to abrasion, the ability to wear well, is about how much twist is in your ply. And so, as new spinners, sometimes we put way too much twist in our singles and we end up with what seems to be very ropey or cordy yarn, and it's not nice for knitting. But what it is better suited for is like warp. And so I think that I have learned from weaving, I can talk more to spinners that weave than I could before, because you really do make, at least for warp, you really do make a different kind of yarn. And you
Mhm.
don't want it to be rope, you don't necessarily want it to be cord, but it does require a little more twist than, say, a knitting yarn does. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
And then some. Well, we're talking about magazines.
Yes.
Uh, you've been producing ply, but now you're producing this new magazine called WEFT.
That's
So
right.
we got some copies of the cover here. Uh, so what led you to a weaving magazine? I mean, what is it that you want to do that's not being done?
Okay. So I think, one, aren't they pretty? They're so pretty.
They're
I love them so much. I'm so, so proud of them. I
like your
just got
children.
I just got word, I mean, a couple days ago that the first issue, the plain weave issue, is completely sold out. So I just ordered a reprint. I know.
Yay.
Um, yeah, it's okay. So why did I want to do it? Well, so since I started Ply, probably around the third or fourth issue of Ply, people started asking for a weaving magazine. They're like, do make a Ply, but for weavers. And I was not a weaver. And I believe that the reason that Ply was so successful was because I personally loved spinning and
Mhm.
knew a lot about it. And so I think you need that. And so I knew that I did not have that. I wasn't a weaver and I didn't have the love or the knowledge to do it.
Oh, okay.
So I just kind of like, yeah, all right. Like shined people on for a while, like 10 years. And then I took Patty's class. I got really just fell in love with weaving. And I met this woman online named Lisa, who is Cortha Weaving. And actually, she was someone who I was on social media. I was so excited about weaving. I was like, "Look what I'm doing. Is this right? Do you guys think this is right? Should I do this a different way?" And Lisa, very timidly and very sweetly, approached me like in a private message and was like, "Can I help you? Like what you're doing is not terrible, but it's not far off." Right? And I know I'm actually impressed because it's probably hard to do that, like to someone and say, "Hey, you stink at this. Can I help?" So we became friends. She actually helped me. She spent like a whole weekend in like a live Zoom, like a live um whatever, text
Really?
with me, like a whole weekend,
Wow.
like 2 or 3 days of 6 or 7 hours, taking me through the whole process again. Because when you're in a class, sometimes, you know, you're it's just so much in your brain. And
Mhm.
so she took me through it again, and we became friends, and really helped my weaving. And I don't know, she's from Canada, and she was in the country for a conference with her husband, and they stopped by. It was my first time meeting like an online friend in real life. And I don't know, we were sitting around and we were talking about magazines, and I don't remember who said it first, but I was like, let's start a magazine. And by the time she left the next day, we kind of had an idea. And where I think it fits, and I felt like that was okay because I was then a person who loved weaving and wanted to get better at it. And she's an excellent weaver. Um, uh, Yetta Vandermeeden is her mentor, who is now our technical editor. And like she's a really great person and a really like good partner in it. And we wanted to do well, I'll tell you, the way that my brain works, our brains are special things, aren't they? The way that my brain works is that I can't do something unless I know why and how it works.
Hmm.
So the reason I started PLY and the reason that both magazines are the way that they are is partly because I want to know the answers to these questions. And so if I assign them to really smart people, then I get to learn from them. So the gap we were trying to fill is this how and why, this like edifying place where you're a weaver and you know what you're doing, but we want to figure out why and how these things are working and what happens if you do this. What happens if you do this? So this kind of experimental and edifying place for this kind of intermediate and up weaver, which I think is I think with spinning, I don't necessarily think of spinning as being stratified in like beginner, intermediate, advanced, because we all tend to learn things at different rates. We pick up things, we absorb things different times. You can hear something now and not make any sense, and then 2 years from now, not make any sense. 5 years from now, and it finally clicks. But someone that hears it for the first time, that might be the thing that makes sense to them. So when I say beginner, intermediate, advanced, it's with this kind of knowledge that that is not always like we don't necessarily learn in that linear fashion. So when we put out an issue, stuff that may seem really beginner to some people
Hmm.
may seem really intermediate or advanced to someone else because this
Right.
is the time when it hits their brain and makes sense. So there's going to be a range always, right? And you're going to look at something and you're going to interpret it with your brain and your knowledge. And something might seem like way out of your realm, but maybe 2 years from now it's not. And something that is difficult for someone else or complex may seem really simple. So we wanted to hit that, like, you already know how to weave, but let's go a little further. Let's figure out how,
Mm. Yeah.
why, and let's experiment and um, let's really give something to people that want to go that direction. And we have Handwoven, which we love. I've been a subscriber to Handwoven for lots and lots of years, even before I was weaving. Um, but like we wanted to just like they're really great at inspiring us. Like we read Handwoven and we're like really inspired by a lot of the projects, but we want to go like we just want to fill a little bit different of a role than Handwoven does. Much like we did with Ply, I've been a subscriber and a writer for Spinoff for years, but we just want to like feel a little bit different.
Hmm.
I never look at either one of those as competition. I
Hmm.
always think that anytime you have just one resource, it's no good. Like you have to push each other to be better and you have to get different viewpoints. Like you have to see different ways of doing things to make it really mean something to you. So I've always looked at us as supporting each other.
Hmm.
And I hope that they do as well. But I think that it's important and it's good. It's better for the community the more resources we have.
Yeah, I loved it. Years ago, there were so many different magazines out there, and I loved them all. They were they all gave you something different, and it wasn't repetitive. And I miss that we don't have those kind of resources.
Yeah.
But you've talked some about teaching, and I have a couple of teaching questions for you because you're well known as a teacher. I've heard people say that you do a beautiful job of helping people understand. So there's two things I was curious about. One is, what's the most difficult thing to teach a brand new spinner other than don't beat yourself up? And then the other thing is, how do you teach color in spinning?
You love that question, don't you?
I
The
do. Color
question.
fascinates me.
Okay, so you know what? I think sometimes it's actually more difficult to teach advanced spinners, like people that have been spinning for years and years, than it is to teach
Uh-huh.
new spinners. Um, New spinners, I think, don't beat themselves up as much as people that have been spinning forever, but are trying to learn a new skill because they think that I'm already a spinner, I'm good at this thing, and so uh,
Oh.
I should be good at this new technique. But everything you learn in spinning it, like it doesn't always carry over. Like learning a new technique, learning something new in spinning is new. Your hands are having to do new things. And so sometimes I think that's more difficult than teaching a new spinner. A new spinner is just happy to get like just happy to get something on the bobbin. I actually keep this, I don't know if you can see it up at the top over there on the white little bundle. That's my very first skein of yarn. And I
Ah,
keep that because I was so thrilled to have that, like to make that yarn, that I think new spinners are maybe slightly easier to teach. I teach all my kids. I have 3 kids, and each one of them, oh, I know it's hard to teach spinners. This is a hard question. Um, Lots of spinners nowadays learn to spin worsted, um, which means that there is no twist between their hands. It's a very controlled kind of spin.
mhm.
It's also known as inchworm, so it's sometimes like here, right? Opposed, or it can be backwards, but there's no twist between your hands. Um, and it makes a very smooth, strong, lustrous yarn. When you try to take a worsted spinner and teach them to spin a woolen yarn. That is the hardest thing. I actually have a class called like worsted to woolen in a day, where I make them take these tiny little baby steps where you change one thing at a time. And I don't tell them that they're spinning woolen until they're like, have been doing it for a while, because sometimes it's a mental, it's like they're so afraid of this loss of control. So I think that's the hardest thing is once people know what they're doing, to teach them something different. Um, I actually made the mistake of, well, on purpose, I taught all 3 of my kids to spin long draw or woolen first. And long draw tends to be much faster.
Mhm.
And so my youngest, who is 15, um, hates worsted. He will not spin. He's the only one that really loves spinning and is really good at it, but he will not spin a worsted yarn. He thinks it's so boring and so like time consuming, and he can spin long draw so fast. But he's also a kid that doesn't use yarn for anything. So
Oh,
it's not about like, this is my favorite way to spin. It's that sometimes you need a yarn that does this, or sometimes you need a yarn that does that. And since he doesn't use yarn for anything, he doesn't realize that his yarn is beautiful and great, but only for these things. Sometimes you want yarn for these things. Um, so I think that's my take on new spinners and teaching spinners is is jumping to a new thing. I also
yeah.
find that it's I don't know, I think that when I started teaching, it's when I realized that I was good at it, that I had not found a thing until spinning that really made sense to me, that I was good at, and I was good at explaining. And I think the reason I'm
Ah,
good at explaining is because I need, like how my brain works is I need to know how and why. So those 6 hours I spun for those years was all about like figuring out why things work the way they work. I'd read the books and then I'd be like, oh yeah, but really? Like, really? And so I would test everything. I would do all the work
yeah, yeah.
and make sure that, and some stuff holds up and some stuff doesn't. Some stuff you read in older books, like our technology and our fiber and the way that we process fiber is really different now. And so those old rules don't necessarily hold up, but some of them are best practices because like they're literally the best practices. You can do things differently, but it's really works better if you spin long fibers this way and if you spin short fibers this way. Like there's a reason we do things a certain way. Um,
Well, what about the color part of it?
the color thing. Color. I love color.
Uh-huh.
How you teach someone, I think. Okay. Jillian Moreno, who's a very close friend of mine, is like the color person. She
Oh,
has a
okay.
lot of color classes, and she is brilliant at teaching color. I am not brilliant at teaching color because I'm not great. Like, I am constantly experimenting. I actually just spun and some socks. And I I was seaming up the toe the other night of this sock, and I just looked at it and I realized I hated it so much. Because I was working with colors that I don't usually work with. It was like a spin along that we do for the guild, and I ripped the whole thing out and I'm re-knitting it because I couldn't get the colors to work. So in my practice, I tend to uh I I experiment a lot and some things work and some things don't work. So I've never taught color as much as I can look at something and be like, yeah, I don't like that at all.
Mm.
Like this sock. I looked at it the whole time I was knitting it and I was like, oh no, that's not good. That maybe it'll get better. You know how we do. But
Like that. It'll get better. I've done that. You're weaving along going, I
right.
think when I get a bigger part woven, I'll like it better.
Yes, right?
No, you won't.
But I think that we are lucky in that we have these things, these crafts that we can work in small ways to experiment with. Like for knitting, it's socks for me. Like I can experiment with color in socks. And even if I end up not loving it, it's a pair of socks. I'm going to wear them. With weaving, I think I do a lot of, especially with Jane Stafford's school, I did a lot of towels and a lot of gift towels with especially the colors that didn't work great. With spinning, we do these small little samples where you don't have to spend a lot of time to figure out if you like a color story that you're telling. And so I think that it's nice that we have these crafts where we can experiment in these small formats first. So teaching, I'm not the one, but experimenting, because honestly, half of what I do, I don't love. Um, but I do a lot. And so the half that I do love still ends up being enough.
You're so honest. I like this. I don't like half of what I
Right.
do,
No,
but
I don't.
oh, what the heck. All right. Well, I love how you view things. Like half of this I don't want to do. And I was real impressed with this book you wrote, 51 Yarns to Spin Before You Cast Off. And now explain a little bit about how this book is set up because it's not like a how to, it's
No.
just different. It's really unique, I think. Talk
So
some about that.
it was one of these, it came from the idea of doing the work. So when I would
Mm.
teach classes, so I taught, was my main income for 10 or 11 years. I taught every 3 weeks all over the world. And part of teaching, I think, is making your students do the work. Like I can tell you how something works, but unless you do it, at least that's how it works for me. And I teach and I write how I think. And so I can tell you why this works or doesn't work, but for me, it doesn't mean anything unless I'm doing the work, unless my students are doing the work. And then it might actually become part of their kind of internal lexicon about the crafts. So this was kind of an offshoot of that. First of all, I have to give credit to Linda Ligon, who started Interweave and Long Thread. This book fully was her. She's the one we were sitting down at lunch, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And she was like, you know what? You should write a book that's like a checklist for people. And so that's where the idea came from. And what it is it's 51 years. It was going to be 51 yarns to spin before you die, but that was a little morose, I think. Um, so it's 51 yarns, and each one has like a little bit of interesting, I don't know, facts, history, like just weird little stuff about a type of yarn or spinning in the grease. Like one of them is spin a yarn in the grease, and it's got these little illustrations that are adorable. And then it kind of talks about why people used to spin in the grease and gives you some tips about if you're going to spin in the grease, spin a little bit thicker than you want to and put a little more twist in it than you think, because when you wash that grease, when you wash the fleece, it's going to get thinner, and therefore you
Okay, let
don't.
me let me interrupt you for just one second. Tell people what spinning in the
Oh,
grease is.
okay.
I think they
So
may have figured it out already, but if you're not a
spinning
spinner,
in the
you may not
grease
know it.
is just you don't scour your fleece. So you've got this fleece, you don't scour it. You want something that's either been coated or is pretty clean, but it's still going to have lanolin in it. It's still going to be like, so when you do that, if you can picture spinning and then washing this lanolin, this grease away from it, what happens is your yarn gets thinner because you've washed away. And the thinner a yarn is, the more twist it needs. So there's like little tips about make sure you make it, a little bit thicker than you really want it to be, and put a little extra twist in it because this is what's going to happen. And then there's a place, the idea is that you spin each of these yarns and they're broken up into sections, and there's a place to record that you did it. So it's just really about making people do the work. So they think they're buying a book to learn from, but really it's a book of here's 51 yarns, do the work. But when you're done, you have this knowledge about yarn that you didn't have coming into it. And some of them you're going to know already, but as you go through it, and it's not just spinning in the grease, it's different ply structures, it's different drafts, it's different types, it's some art yarn, some textured yarn, some traditional yarns, but it forces you to expand what you already know, which I think is kind of where I have found my place in the crafting world, is kind of providing this platform um, that makes these crafts more accessible and richer and deeper for people. Like I'm not like I think that that's probably the best way to describe how I see my place in the world right now.
Well, I have a question about this, but I'm going to hold it till the end because it's going to be more appropriate, I think. But I want to jump to something completely different. It has nothing to do with fiber, or maybe it does. But I just thought this was fascinating. You're a rock climber.
I am.
Now, which is not a real common activity, right? And I think if you surveyed fiber people, they would probably be even less percentage. I know I'm going to get all these people saying, I climb, I climb. I know there are people out there that do that, but I would just say among fiber people, I don't know there's a lot of rock climbers. So this might be a stretch, but what do you think rock climbing, spinning, weaving, do any of those have anything in common for you?
Okay. I think when I look at my motivation for doing them, um, I think I think yes. I think here's where I make the tie. My place in the craft world, I think, is this idea of, like I said, providing these platforms, making these crafts um, more accessible, more richer and deeper. And I think because of the crafts that we do, we as a community, this might be, I don't think this is, I don't think this is false. I think this is true. I think we are nicer, happier people. I think that we as fiber artists are kind of the best people. But so when I used to throw this event called Plyway, and people would come and they'd spend a week and we'd have all these classes of spinning. And we'd bring, 15 teachers, and it was like a little plying or a little spinning convention. Um, the people that worked at the hotel were always so happy to see us. 7 years, and they were just like, we're so happy when you come because everyone here is so nice and happy. They're not here working on a like at a at a work retreat. They're here doing something they love, and because of that, everyone's so much happier. No, it's that one is ancient art. Carrie asked. That's ancient art in Moab. The climb there. When you get to the top, you stand at the top of this pillar, and it's the size of a pizza box. But because we are doing this thing that we love, I think it gives us this peace and this happiness that people that don't do maybe don't have. So I think that I get to see kind of the best people, the best of humanity. I get to see people at their best, doing something that they love and enjoy. And I think that rock climbing for me is seeing and experiencing kind of the best of this earth, these beautiful, untouched places that are still so like breathtaking to take part in. And I think that I've crafted my life in such a way that I get like the best people and the best view of the world. So yeah, that's my tie. I did it.
Yay. You probably can see it in the comments. Some of these other people got other ideas what's related. So I knew there would be some rock climbers in here. I knew
Yes.
they would come out of the woodwork. Um, you have done so much in your life. You've got all these great different projects you're taking on, and probably even more. What would be your dream project? If everything could align, money was no object, time was no object, age was no object, what would be your dream project?
That was such a hard
It
question. Oh my
is.
gosh. Um, oh, so I am someone that tends to jump in. You may have noticed. Like, ah. Um, and so I don't. I don't know if I have like a big thing left undone. Like I tend to have an idea, and if I
Mhm.
love it, well, for instance, no, I don't have. I tend to like I think at some point in my life I would have said, "Oh, I'd love to write a book or start a magazine," like because that's really what I wanted to do when I was in college, when I was in school.
Really? Way back when you knew you wanted to do the magazine?
No, not the
Oh,
magazine, but I always wanted to be a writer.
oh, okay.
And I really wanted to write a book. I was like, I'm gonna write a book. And I thought it would be fiction because that's what I mostly did. I've never written a fiction book. I've only become a writer because, or a, it's niche, but popular in my community because of fiber. Um, but like for instance, when I have an idea, I tend to try to make it happen. So I don't have a lot of like for instance, you showed a picture earlier that was a weaving. And oh, this draws back to the color thing you asked too. So sometimes I don't have a great like color is one of the things that I have to like I don't dye my own stuff. I rely on people that are really good at that. Much like I don't raise sheep like my mom thought because that's a whole craft. Like people that are amazing, Lee Langstaff, like people that are amazing doing that thing. And I want to be as good as I can at the things that I really enjoy. And those aren't necessarily like, I don't want to be a dyer, or I don't want to be a shepherd. Um, so I was trying to come up with this idea for a weaving that dealt with color through the ages.
Mhm.
And so my idea. And because I make these wall hangings that cover the window because I shoot the PLY Spinners Guild in here. And every season I make a wall hanging that deals with the yarns from that season that we
Oh,
learned. So for instance, this one is all worsted. This is actually something about spinning and weaving, knowing about yarn. So this is a stretched overshot. And for instance, the weft or the no, sorry, the warp in this one is a two-ply Shetland spun worsted in a particular way that increased the strength of it.
oh,
Whereas the tabby weft is a single because it doesn't need to be super strong. And I wanted to showcase different structures. So it's a single of a yarn that doesn't poof up as much because I wanted to stay kind of flat. Whereas the pattern weft is a 3-ply yarn that does poof up. It's
ah,
targy and it poofs up because I wanted it to be very textural. So knowing those things about yarn, I was able to create, and I have one for the woolen season. So I was trying to create one for the color season. And what I ended up doing was a warp that is all the natural colors of sheep from like white to black in a gradient. That were
wow.
essentially the colors that we first saw in fiber arts, right? Because they were natural colors of sheep. Then the tabby weft is all the natural dyes that we first started using. So the first natural dyes that people kind of had access to. So it's a gradient of those natural dyes. And then the pattern weft is this like mauve kind of fuchsia color that is the very first synthetic dye that was invented when this very young 19-year-old scientist was trying to produce a cure for malaria. And it's called mauvine. And so that's kind of how I came. And you showed a picture of it earlier, and I'm not sure that it's successful as a color, like as something beautiful, but I love it because it's this statement on how we've seen color through our ages. Um, so my point to that is your question, big things in the future. Um, I don't know. I don't think I have giant, lofty, big like I don't think I think in those terms. I tend to think in terms of things that I can do. And so starting another magazine, I'm like, yes, let's do that. Like I know how to do it. Writing a book or weaving these things that try to like incorporate different things that I already know. But I don't think I have any. I mean, we might start another magazine. Don't tell anyone.
Well, that was my question. I said I was going to hold off, which is, what is next for you, JC?
um, okay, so I turned 50 this my last birthday. And I started weaving when I was 40. Patty could tell me. I think it was three or 4 years ago. And I lament the fact that I waited until I was 50, 47, whatever, to learn to weave. Like I am so sad that I only have 40 more years to like do this craft that I love. Um, so honestly, my and part of my like love of weft is that I am learning so much
I
from
bet. Yeah.
people like that are so like talented and smart. So I think the most thrilling thing for me right now is to keep doing these magazines and learning. Like I want to get there's so much I want to do in weaving that that's my right now, that's really my focus is that I'm excited to keep weaving and to get better and better. And I'm so behind on Jane's stuff. She's like done 2 seasons since my gosh. Um, so am I also going in October? I'm going to weaving Madeline Vanderhoot's school.
Oh, good for you.
So excited for that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think I'm excited to get to where like my life is kind of normal again. I'm not in the throes of starting a new magazine. Um, and I can kind of get back to learning the things I want to learn. I think that that's the thing that makes me happiest. I am writing a new book, and it's actually it's just a um, it's a spinning book, and it's kind of going a little deeper in. My first book was about a limited array of kind of textured yarn techniques, and it's kind of an expansion of that. So I'm writing that. We're secretly talking about this other big project. You didn't hear it from me. Um, and I don't know. I just want to keep learning the things that
Are you
I
doing another magazine?
maybe.
Is it
What would it be about? Nobody knows.
fiber related?
Yes.
Okay.
I think honestly, we're at a point in whatever human evolution where it's only going to be fiber people that want print magazines because we're so textile,
Yeah. Yeah.
like tactile, right? We want to like hold a magazine. We have offered digital subscriptions for years. And we have some people, especially people that live Australia, New Zealand, like shipping costs are really expensive. And then there's some people that are trying to like not have a lot of stuff, but it's a really small percentage of people that only want the digital. Almost everyone appreciates a print, especially
Mhm.
because the magazine is pretty nice.
It's
Um,
beautiful. It's really
but
beautiful.
we're talking about it. We're thinking about it.
Well, I'm curious. I'm assuming that when you started WEFT, you were beyond that learning curve because you had what you had gone through with Ply,
Right.
even though it was years difference, and I'm sure a lot of the technology was different. Was it easier to,
Oh
if
my
you did
gosh.
one now, would it be even quicker and easier?
Yes. So Ply, it was me. It was me and
Oh,
like two other people. My best friend is our photographer. And literally, I was like, hey, you take nice pictures of our kids. Want to be my photographer? Because I think I'm going to start a magazine. And now she's actually like a wonderful photographer. She's like taken classes and studied and done 10, 12 years of Ply. But in the beginning, we were all just struggling to figure out how to do it. And I always say that if I'd known what it took, I would not have thought I could do it because there's a lot of moving parts. So there was 3 or 4 of us for the first couple of years, and like literally would sit on my living room floor and mail out copies, like put stamps on magazines and mail them out. Um, so starting, I don't know, around year 4, it got easier. And then around year 7, it got really easy. I hired this woman named Karen, who is amazing and is now my editor in chief for Ply. So when we started WEFT, I moved her up to editor in chief instead of managing editor, and she could not do it without her. Um, when we started WEFT, so much easier. I still worked 16-hour days, but I had other people doing it too. And it was like WEFT, the first issue of WEFT, I was so much happier with it than I was the first issue of Ply.
mm,
Probably took me 10 issues to get happy with Ply. I'm thrilled with WEFT from the beginning. And part of that is having a really good partner that knows weaving, and knows kind of, we talk about what should be in it. What kinds of things do we want, what angles do we want to come from? And how can we look at these things in different ways?
Mhm.
So yes, starting it was much easier, much smoother. And now that I know how to start a magazine, a second magazine, um, starting another magazine might be even easier. Who knows?
And we just can't wait to see that maybe you will.
Um,
Well, tell you what, we have got tons of questions. Some of them I think you've already answered. A lot of them are singing your praises. So I'm gonna head to these and see if we can get a few of these answered. Um, what are some of your favorite sheep breeds to spin? This is from Roxanne Elkan.
Roxanne. Um, that's a funny question. And spinners, I'm sure that this is true of every craft, it's teachers, but that's always, it depends. It really depends on what I want out of the yarn. I think that one of my favorite kind of multi-purpose is Corriedale. I love spinning Corriedale because it's easy, it's long, and you can use it for a myriad of uses. I also love fibers like Gotland because they're like ethereal and they glow. I'm not as big a fan as, you know what, that's not true. I was going to say I'm not as big a fan of merino, but that's only because I feel like we got oversaturated with it because so many dyers were using it, just it for so long
Oh,
that everyone used it. Like it was what we really had to spin for a long time. Now that we have this wide variety, I like merino again. I think anytime that you're limited, that you get like, oh, I want some other stuff. But
yeah, yeah.
I like down wools. I love working with down wools. I like weirder wools. I like colored, like naturally colored wools. They're really fun.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know. It depends.
Well, there are several people asking about the 51 Yarns book, and I think Liz posted in chat how to get it. Is it out of print?
Nope, it's not. It's
Okay,
it's on the plymagazine.com website.
okay, all right. So people are asking how they could get that book, and so there you go, Ply Magazine website. Um, this is from Liz Adams. She's like, as a spindle spinner, who needs a wheel? Abby wrote, Respect the Spindle, wonderful book on the art and history and physics of spinning. Okay, wheels are okay, I guess. Thank
Yes.
you,
So
Liz. That was nice.
wheels, wheels and spindles, right? I am not a great spindle spinner because I learned on a wheel and it was hard for me to, I can now do it, but spindles are amazing. Spindles are such versatile, like take it with you tools. Love them.
Oh, I know. You can spin anywhere, especially
Yeah.
if these new, what do you think about the new electric ones?
I love them. I have several.
Okay.
Well, I also have like almost 30 wheels, so I tend to have I tend to have, well, we use them for photo shoots. It's nice for people to see their own wheel or their own loom in an issue. You don't want to just use the same one. You want to normalize a whole range of things. So I love e-spinners. Um, I use them all the time, especially if like I have a hurt hip, um, or I'm chilling downstairs with the kids watching a movie. It keeps the cats away. It keeps the dog from like getting like messing with my dog likes to lick my treadles for some reason. So I love e-spinners.
This is from Karen LeBlanc. She said, what type of loom do you prefer to use? And is there a weave structure you prefer?
So I know that this is silly. In the first year, I had 4 different looms. Um, but my current loom that I adore is my Spring 2, my Louette Spring 2. I have like a,
Okay.
and I love it. It's got 8 shafts, and I think I can add 8 more, which I might do. Um, but and I have several table looms, but I think my Spring is my favorite one to work on. I find it most ergot, and this is the same thing with spinning wheels. That's why I have a ton of them. Some of them that I don't love because they work for somebody, and I don't want to
Yeah.
not include them in the magazine because they don't work for me. I had other looms that people adore, but ergonomically was not as comfortable for me to use or to dress.
Right.
So I like the Spring just fits me. Um, so
Well, I can't believe it, but we have to stop for today. And I'm sorry I didn't get all the questions, y'all, but I'm sure JC will answer them if you want to contact her. And I saw some of you have said you went out and ordered the book. Good for
Yay.
you. I think you'll enjoy it, and we want to hear back from you as you go through all of them.
Right. Post pictures.
Thank you so much for being on here, JC. We really do appreciate it. And we want to thank, yeah, go to her Facebook page, facebook.com, jc.boggs.faulkner. If you want to order the book, go to PLY Magazine. You can Google it and you can get right to it. And it is also in the chat. So thank you so much, JC. We look forward to your next project, whatever that might be.
Thank you. It was lovely to be here.
All
And thank you
right.
to my guild for sponsoring it.
Yes. And that's what I'm going to say next. Thank you to our sponsor, Central Oregon Spinners and Weavers Guild. They got good people in that guild.
Right?
That's right. So thank you so much, Central Oregon. We do appreciate you doing that. If you want to sponsor an episode of Textiles and Tea, whether you're a guild, a business, an individual, group of people, we've had people do that lately. Dogs, we have dogs that sponsor Textiles and Tea. Please go onto the website at weavespindie.org and you can choose a date, sign up online. If you have a question about a date or somebody who might be presenting, you can call the office if you have a question. We'll be glad to help you with that. So again, thank you, Central Oregon. We do appreciate that. We want to remind you all that Spinning and Weaving Week will be coming up in October, 6th through the 12th. There's so much in that week. You need to check it out because there's everything from the tours. We get to tour artist studios and see how people where they create, like that magazine, and you get to hear them talk about where they make and what they make and how they do it, whether or not they share spaces. It's just fascinating to see artists in their environment. So that is just one thing. We have 34 art sparks. So if you want to come and make something, learn how to make something, it's always fun to do a make it, take it, right? And we got 34 of those we're going to do. There's thread talks where they come in, you know what TED Talks is. Well, we have thread talks. They come in and talk about a topic that's near and dear to their heart, or they want to share information about something. It's fascinating. And the best part, and then we have a marketplace. And the timing's great because you're getting ready to do all those holiday gifts. You can see people have take that opportunity to announce new yarns or new equipment that they may have. Tons of things to see during the spinning and weaving week. And you know what's so great about it? It's recorded. So you can't get to everything all day long, but you can check it out on your schedule. My favorite is the show your stuff. I love seeing what people are working on. And I love it when people are willing to say, hey, look what I've made this year. And I so hope you all will join us in that one also. So thank you all so much. Check out Spinning and Weaving Week. You can sign up now, go online to Weave Spin Die to do that. We want to thank everybody who has supported HGA through your donations or by joining. Because of those donations, we're able to do more programming like this, like Spinning and Weaving Week. You can go online to weavespindie.org and join or donate or both. And I encourage you all to do that. Next week, we have Anastasia Azur. I'm excited. Her work is amazing. You're going to love her work. Check her out this week if you get the opportunity. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Happy tea.